Hello everyone. I just want to show you a video of some of my antique cast iron skillets um, that I have acquired over a good number of years in various places, and ways to identify them and what makes one better than the other for whatever purpose. This one in particular is a favorite piquaware. Um, Everything from the markings on the back to the kind of hole in the handle, um, the pour spouts, everything can be used like that to identify what type and who made the skillet and where. There are drastic differences in not only cast iron composition in different places in the country when they were made years and years ago, um, but also how they were finished, and that makes every bit of difference in the world, and how they cook, what they do, where they excel, etc. So this one in particular is got some minor pitting on it back there. I have electrolysis cleaned and then re-seasoned all of my cast iron because you never know what the hell people were using it before, or using it for before you got it. One of the bigger differences that make them a joy to cook with is how they were hand finished back in the day, and that is just smooth as glass. You can see me leaving mark in there because when I'm done cooking, I just rub it down with butter over the still warm element, and then throw it back in the cupboard. So this one's got a heat ring, so the bottom is actually recessed all the way around. It doesn't actually sit on the burner, it sits away from it. If you have a glass top, this would be probably ideal. We actually have gas. I have stuff everywhere because I had to pull everything out to show you guys all this stuff, so please excuse the mess. So by contrast, if you want to look at the piquaware, there is up here, I have this one. This is a Birmingham Stove and Range, also called BSR, referred to as BSR, and again with the marks in there, that's just butter. But again, very smooth. It has a different texture. It's a slightly rougher, but it's not as smooth as you see with the Piqua. Now here's the big difference, is the thickness of these two. Okay, so this BSR takes a while to heat up. It does. But when it gets hot, it will impart a tremendous amount of heat on your food very quickly. This will put an amazing scald on a sandwich. I mean, just the best toasted sandwich you've ever had in your life. Some of its markings and that discoloration is just because of the gas, literally the flame hitting the bottom of it. They actually specify 10 1/4 inch, made in USA. There's all the markings. These two right here are probably my favorites. These are the two that I use the most. This one I use for cooking meat, just because it's so thin, it heats up quickly. It's so slick, nothing really ever sticks as long as you use butter or oil or whatever. And this one is exclusively used for sandwiches. And like, there's a lot of butter in that thing. Like I said previous, it imparts just an amazing amount of crust and toast on your sandwiches. It's just incredible. Aside from these two that I use most often, there is up here these two little guys. This one I use when I'm cooking hot dog chili, because I don't use a ton of it and it only makes sense to use something small. This one is a Wagner. This one's been around a while. I think most of all these have come from around, the ones that I have, from the 40s through 70s. And then I have a couple lodge pieces that are newer, that are really rough cast, that are a little difficult to use, but I still use them. And so this other guy here, again with the butter, this one is also a Birmingham stove and range. And the marks on here were, I think, from the casting marks. And you'll see some where they actually go through the alphabet and they put little symbols here. But these, like I was saying, the look of the handle, all this stuff can be used to help you identify who made your skillet. And if you look on the inside here, this one, it's kind of hard to see. It doesn't have a stop and then back over this direction. It's a very gentle sloping curve. So this one is a joy to cook with as well because of that. And the only one I have not electrolysis cleaned would be this one. And that's just because my grandmother just gave it to me recently. This one is I get these little insulators because holy shit, do these handles get hot. This one is also a Wagner, and as you can see, this is what you're going to expect to see on uncleaned. All the build-up there of God in heaven only knows what, but I know that my grandmother's had this her whole life, and all of her kids and their kids' kids have eaten out of it, and we're all still kicking, so, you know. Whatever it was, this is fine. I do have plans to clean this one with the electrolysis and then redo the seasoning on it, but it's gonna have to wait till the winter because with a gas range it gets your house hot as crap to have it going for an hour at 500 degrees. And also have the cornstick pan that I've cleaned this and I've used it once. We're not real big cornbread eaters. This one is a Griswold. Kind of fun to hunt all these things down. We haven't been shopping for them in such a while because I've got a ton of them. So, and then this one here, similar in thickness, actually about halfway between the piquaware and the BSR, and it is a Griswold. And a lot of people swear, oh, these are the best. Wagner's the best. Just depends on what you're using them for. There isn't really a good, better, best. I still have a very rough, I think it was made in China or something, cast iron skillet that was probably like $10. And we would use it when we would make the Chicago style pizza, and it would do amazing. But try to cook an egg in it, and not so much. And last but not least, actually I have a few more here that I'm not going to pull out, but is this behemoth from the 70s. This is a Lodge Dutch oven. Something on it there. I only use this for cooking popcorn outside on the side burner on the grill, and it does fantastic. It's got the little self-basting lid there. You can kind of see a swirl pattern from the finishing. Not sure why they did that. Still some bits of popcorn in there. And here's the bottom of this guy. But the place that you want to look for cast iron is not antique places. It is thrift stores. Antique places are where the pickers and the booth owners and everything have placed their finds from thrift stores after they get them for, you know, next to nothing, and they sell them for god-awful amounts of money. We're in North Carolina here, and there was a guy that had a booth in an antique place close to here in Monroe that traveled up north and would bring down all the Griswold and Erie stuff because that was what was selling, but he was asking $60, $70, $80, $100 a pan. I'm just like, you're out of your mind, pal. So some people might want to spring for that. Me not so much. Actually, I do have a large grill pan. I don't know how the hell I got this thing in here. Sorry for the noise. Ooh. My wife got me this for Christmas one year. Without having a grill, if you want grill marks on something, that'll do it. Right there. This one is not antique, but it is very heavy, very thick, and like I said, it'll do its thing. But I think that one of these two small ones here, I think it was this one. I think it was a BS. No, this one. This one I got at Bargain Hunters thrift store for $3. $3. And it's one of the best ones I've got. Now, granted, it did not look anything like this when I brought it home, but after cleaning it with electrolysis, reseasoning it, there you go. So cast iron, if you take care of it, skillets anyway, they'll outlive you. They've been around for a long time. It doesn't take much care to take care of them, and they're a joy to cook with. Just people always say, well, how do you keep it from sticking? Well, you use almost as much butter as you do the food you're cooking, and with rough cast stuff, and it won't stick. But it does make a big difference with the thicknesses of the iron. Almost said steel. How they're designed, how they're finished, all that stuff goes into play when you're cooking with them. But anyway, I had a few people asking me the differences of some of these, so I thought I'd share it with you. Post any questions, comments, whatever below.